Welcome to the Power of Love show sponsored by the DD Jackson Foundation, where we shine a light on loss and grief and how it impacts our lives. We are here to provide hope, resources, and a community so no one feels alone in their grief. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Power of Love show sponsored by the DD Jackson Foundation, where we shine a light on loss and grief and how it impacts our lives. I am TJ Jackson, and with me is my brother Taj Jackson.
What's going on?
We are live on the Power of Love show.
Power Low.
We are live on the Power of Love show via Facebook, YouTube Live. It's going to be also a podcast. So if you're listening to us on our podcast, thanks for joining us. But of course, we are very open to ideas from you guys, feedback, community. We love when the Power of Love show is, when you guys give us some feedback and some input. So this show in particular, we are going to talk about a couple things that are heavy on our minds. Taj and my minds.
Oh no.
This
is how you're going to start our show.
We are not licensed therapists. I guess we're not English majors either, but we are just ordinary people who have experienced loss in our lives. We've been impacted by it and we've learned from it. If you need professional help, we urge you to seek it and to find it. Do not just rely on us. Taj, I was going to ask you, unless you say something that's important, how your week was.
We can pass that.
We can bypass that. Okay, cool. I just got back from Nashville, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because upon landing from Nashville, I got a couple messages basically saying, "Did you hear about Chadwick?" And there's only one Chadwick I am familiar with, so my mind immediately went to Chadwick Boseman, and I'll never forget it because I was walking through LAX checking, Google Chadwick Boseman, and there I saw the news. And I haven't been clear-minded since, and it's so, we've had shows like this before where we've talked about how celebrities can impact us and the loss can really mess with us. But we haven't, I don't know. I don't know if it's coupled with a variety of things. The fact that he concealed it, kept it to himself, onto his close inner circle. I don't know if it's the fact that he was a Black superstar, a superhero. He was, monumental, huge for us Blacks. I don't know if it's, again, because of his age. He's so young. I don't know what it is, but this one's hitting me pretty good, like Kobe did.
Yeah.
Taj, and again, this is a freestyle type of show. We're just going to talk from the heart.
So you should say, because you said how young he was, 43. He died of colon cancer. Which it just came to shock to everyone, pretty much because there were very, very few people that knew about his illness. As you said, he concealed it because he didn't want, I don't know what he didn't want or whatever, but it was just to know that when he was diagnosed, he gave us all these, not only great movies, but he was really fighting, I think his trajectory in a way, like he played so many famous, important roles in movies, but most people know him, T'Challa from Black Panther, and he fought, and I don't mean fight like like verbally fight or whatever, but he fought to have. And one of the things I learned about was that he fought to have that the language of Wakanda be an African language, which originally it was supposed to be in English.
Wow.
They were in English, and he wanted it to be an African accent.
I didn't even know that,
because he wanted, and he picked a native African language to have the accent because he didn't want it to be his accent to sound westernized. And so there's a certain things you learn about that. Like, there's a lot of decisions that go into it, and that was one of the reasons why he did the role in that way, was because they fought for certain things that subconsciously you pick up that you don't even realize you pick up in that way.
Yeah.
Same thing with the right hand over, like some people do it this way. That's the wrong way. It's supposed to be this way.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Because they said, this is what they said. They said that when I don't know if it was Egyptians, or they said that the royalty was buried that way in terms of, and so they decided that's the way they're going to do it. And that, so there's all these different things that I've been picking up as I go on Twitter, go on certain things, and in general, and just it's we've talked about loss and grief and stuff like that and what it's meant. I think this was, for a lot of Black people, their first superhero. Even though there's Blade and there's Storm and X-Men, in terms of where they can really identify with, because Black Panther was like nearly all Black cast in a time when people said movies, Black movies won't sell overseas, and it became one of the biggest movies of all time. I think it's number 11 with $1.3 billion sold. So it's one of Marvel's best movies. And it's just like a lot of stereotypes were killed in that way. And I shouldn't use the word were destroyed in that way. From Black Panther. And so, and he led the charge on that.
Yeah. I think Taj too, because he's the protagonist of, the Black Panther, which was really an all Black movie. Yeah. It's like it was carried by a Black entitled and completely Black cast, and accepted by the world, and he was the hero of it, and he handled it with such grace. The character with such grace, poise, and strength, and it's just heartbreaking to know that he won't be the hero, or it looks like, for if there's ever a Black Panther 2. I'm hoping there is. I don't hope they recast. I hope it keeps there, but I hope they can finagle the storyline to maybe add a second king. I don't know how they would do it, but
in the comics, Shuri becomes Black Panther at one point, his sister. So there is a way in the comics for that to have happened in the Marvel movies. But yeah, I know what you're saying though. Yeah, he's irreplaceable. Like, that's the thing. And
there's just something so, and he's very simple, so it's really cool. And that's why I think my heart's so broken for him, because he wasn't that kind of loud, or he was never in issues. And so he was very iconic, but being so
poised
and simple.
Yeah, he had a lot of dignity to him. And I think it's what the character had in a way. Yeah. It's like it was often on screen. You hear about certain actors being one way, for their character, and the other way off. But he embodied what he was stood for, like, in a way. And I think that's why people attach to themselves to the character.
So he obviously was the Black Panther, but he also played Jackie Robinson and James Brown and Thurgood Marshall. Yeah. And these are iconic Black figures. And again, he played all those roles with class and dignity, and will forever be missed. Yeah. But that leads us to today's topic, which is, why do we grieve celebrities we may have never met or known personally? Because I never met Chadwick. I assume you never did either, Taj. Yeah, but it's hitting me, and I know the backdrop of everything. 2020 has been a tough year. We lost Kobe. We've been dealing with COVID and some injustice in our nation. And this is just another punch in the gut, the Chadwick Boseman loss. But my question to everyone out there is, why do we grieve celebrities we may have never met or known? So please let us know. I want to share some of those answers on screen. But Todd, I want to ask you I have a response, but I want to ask you your opinion.
For that question?
For that question.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on, Todd. You should know. You should know my rhythm. We're brothers.
I'm trying to help you out too. Teach you about hosting and stuff. You just can't stop mid-sentence. That's my job. I think you feel connection. You do, as you know, especially if it's someone that you're watching on screen and you identify with, you definitely feel a connection. And although like he's played all these characters that are Black iconic people in a sense, but with Black Panther, it really was like it was a coming of age. Like he had to win the respect, and he had to succumb to a lot of not only pressure, but a relative that was jealous of him. And there's a lot of stuff that, even though it was considered quote unquote, a movie, for Black people in a way, that's how, in terms of it, it was a worldwide movie, and it shouldn't have been portrayed that way, and it wasn't, because you can't get to 1.3 billion, movies, dollars if it was just to Black people in that way. Because everyone, I think, identified in that way. And one of the things that I always notice is like with people like Kobe and Chadwick is that, I look to see the outside pouring from, like, he had so much support, just like Kobe did, from all different backgrounds, from all different political backgrounds. It was like both sides politically were mourning him. Both, all the races were mourning him. All the countries were mourning him in that way. And so it takes a lot for that to happen in a way. And I think people have to see someone's soul in that way. And I don't know how that works, in that where someone can kind of identify someone's real soul in their music or in their character that they're portraying, or just them in an interview or whatever. But I think people do connect with that in that way.
Yeah. And I also think it's that it's just film. I think that's one of the powers of film, is that we invite them into our living rooms. We know them. We already have ideas of how they would react to things, and so they're like the family member that you don't have to see the bad side of, or don't have to get annoyed by, because you control when they come in and when they come out, and they're just there for us. They're a comfort level for us. We can always put on a movie and see that familiar face and smile or laugh with them. And I think, along with musicians, actors, when we lose them, all public figures, but I think musicians and actors, there's something about it. You feel like you lose part of yourself and part of a family member.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Kobe, and
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people didn't even, like me, I don't watch basketball, but I felt the impact of it in that way.
And what would you lend that to?
As I said, like, just, him, going around, being very charitable, just like Chadwick was in that way. You see,
But I wonder, and I sorry to cut you off, but I wonder if that's because we have some type of a bond with Kobe through Uncle Michael, and we've had that kind of interaction. Even if it was slight.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that I'm not including that in it in that way. It was more the world was mourning in that way, because I was looking at all the different countries, and it was just like everyone felt the same way, and that when everyone feels the same way about someone, it transcends just one race or one country or one gender. It does, and so.
I have a question for the community as well. Another question is, which celebrity? I know many of you are going to say Uncle Michael, but let's just exclude Uncle Michael. Which celebrity passing affected you the most? And again, in the last 5 years, we've lost a lot. We've lost Prince, Whitney Houston, Kobe, and then Princess Diana before, Aaliyah, Heath Ledger, Robin Williams, Paul Walker, Chadwick Boseman. I'm curious to know which one affected you the most and why.
Yeah. Can I say something? My Lady Diana story?
Please.
You can tell when something affects you because you remember exactly where you were at that moment in that way. And Lady Diana, her passing, I remember exactly where we were. We were in the our little studio trailer where we record at Michael Blum's, and when the news hit, and I remember it. I remember being in shock and just in general. But for me, it's weird because when people like that die, I I mourn for the world more than I mourn for myself. In that way, I'm like, wow, that's someone that we all lost in a way, and I sense that. And so, yeah, that's I think the first one that was old enough to realize the impact that it had in that way.
Mm. And do you think? Yeah, I was gonna ask. Do you think you have to be a quote unquote fan of the person to really feel that extra pain?
I didn't know a lot of I later on I learned what Princess Diana had done, or Lady Di had done, more in terms of her charitable and stuff like that. But I just sense when the world cries, I think everyone can feel it in that way. And she was just one person that I could sense that pain that it was like everyone was mourning, and you can kind of feel that. And so for me, that was what it was. And then I went back and kind of did the research of what that was. So I'm looking at some of the comments. That's why I'm pausing.
Yeah. Todd, I have another question for you. Do you think there's a relation between age and the kind of impact or disheveling that we feel when we lose someone?
No, because you saw with Chadwick, you saw little kids of all races,
I didn't mean that. I meant in terms of the age of the deceased.
Oh, like
43
they
versus
suddenly die,
63.
yeah. Well, we talked about this at one point. Like if they're 80 or 90 years old, you feel like in your mindset, like, oh well, they lived their life or they lived a long life, so it's not as tragic. Yeah, there is something with a lot of the ones that I'm seeing that people are putting up there. They died before their time. They died.
Yeah.
They died young and tragic in that way. So yeah, I do think that is the case because when you're all of them, like from Amy Winehouse to Lady Di to Chadwick to Kobe to George Michael to all these people had died
Okay.
before we were ready for they
Yeah.
didn't go to an older age.
I think that's a big component for me. Obviously, losing someone at any age is difficult, but when you feel like they haven't reached all their greatness or haven't contributed or got shortchanged in life, it does hurt more.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that way.
Yeah. Another question for you, Taj. What can a sudden passing teach us about life and humanity?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, with all these deaths that have happened in like 2019 or 2020, I see on social media a lot of people are like, hug the one closest to you, reach out to people, tell them that you love them, and this and that, especially if it's something of a suicide, in the case of Robin Williams, people are like, you don't know what people are going through, there's always awareness, whether it's Robin Williams with that or Chadwick Baldwin with colon cancer, that's like people are like, go get checked and all that stuff. It's raised awareness for that. So there is certain things that people learn from it as well. But at the same time, I don't know. It's just, I mean, life is fragile in general. Like I've always thought that, having a dog or an animal will teach you that. Like, you get attached for 10 to 15 years if you're lucky. And then it's like, they're gone and they're like family to you. So that was like my first real brush with like a death that really hurt me was, my dog.
Yeah.
And that kind of prepared me like, okay, nothing's for certain.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of the same thing. It's to not take, as Casey Johnson says, don't take life for granted. Marco says live today. Michelle says live the best you can. Alicia says be kind to yourself, live your life with no regrets, don't compare, be you. There's a lot. Lena says you only get one life, live it and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And I agree with all of that, and Elhan says, yes, I agree, Taj, life is fragile. We just have to be, I think, live the moment, try to stay as happy as we can, be thankful for the days we are here, and to try to just stay positive and stay healthy too. I think a lot of times we ignore any health issues, but you know, it's one of those things where it's tough. We have to try our best to just live and as enjoyful as we can. I know I'm not saying that right, but we have to, because life is fragile, everyone. And Caitlin says, tell people how you feel while they are still here, which is another
100%.
big one.
That's a very big one, especially. Also, reaching out to people that we always say, "Oh, I meant to reach out to this person," or wondering, that always something that's just nice in general, because you don't know what everyone's going through, and sometimes that familiar voice, helps people.
Yeah, I think you say it right, Taj, because I didn't see the interview, but I heard about one of Chadwick's co-stars in the Blood movie, which is the new
Yeah.
movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
He didn't realize, he didn't know what Chadwick was going through, and then after difficult scenes, I guess Chadwick would kind of like have help, and people carrying things. And at one point he thought, man, this guy's, I don't want to say prima donna, I want to put that word on him, but he thought he was pampered. And he felt bad for that, but he doesn't know. And it's one of those things, just a reminder that we can't judge others, no matter what they may be going through, something that we don't know, we're not privy to. So just be careful with that. In an article for Vice magazine, psychotherapist, I'm going to mess up this name, but it's Avovi Bagwagar, explains why we feel true grief when a celebrity passes. Mm-hmm. He says, whenever a celebrity passes away, we often react to it the way we would to any other type of death, as if we really knew them. Grief is really very universal. We all grieve. When it comes to those whose movies we might have watched, songs we might have heard, or sporting careers we might have followed, it's about the impact they've had on our lives. Mm-hmm. So that grief is also very real. We know celebrities to a large extent because we read about them. We connect with their characters. We connect to their traits they portray, whether it's on the sports field or on screen. For example, if I were to face an exam but would be worried about failing it, my brain might bring up resources based on the people I read about or seen to serve as markers. Often at that challenging time, I would immediately connect with characters from movies and think, oh, they faced this particular life challenge so well. And that way, celebrities can serve as motivation for us. And when they depart, we often feel a sense of loss that is very real. In a sense, that also means they often represent the best parts of us. I think that's well said, because I think oftentimes we can't articulate or grasp why it affects us so much. But the truth of the matter is, they represent a bigger portion to us than we consciously give credit to them for. Mm-hmm. We see ourselves in them. We see the good side of us. We see the hope in us in a lot of characters and a lot of celebrities. So when they go away, it hurts, because it's part of us that feels like it's going away.
Yeah, definitely. And I also, as you were talking as well, in my mind, I was just thinking what a lot of these people, the names have in common. And one of the things they have in common is a lot of them were selfless in certain things. I mentioned the charity stuff, but they gave back in whether it was Kobe, whether it was Princess Diana, whether it was Chadwick, it's like, you hear these stories about being a nice person or whatever. Like, all these people have that kind of stigma to them in terms of it. I don't know if that adds on to the loss. Like, this was a good why are the good people leaving us? Or, this was a good person. Or Robin Williams. It's like, he made me laugh. He was, he was always doing, I forgot what that comic thing was that they did, the fundraiser they did every year.
Oh yeah, what was that called?
With Whoopi and
dang, Taj. Now I'm going to be thinking about that.
Comic Relief.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It sounds right.
It sounds right. Right. But yeah, so like those kind of people, you feel like you know them, but you also feel they've given you joy and they've given you hope. Hope is a strong word in that way, because it's, with all this negativity happening, and then you see someone doing something good and making it and still being a good person, you kind of connect with them as well. So I don't know. Because I honestly, I think like there's not been many bad people that you've like that, that have been lost that you're like, Oh man, I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just saying that where the world weeps, they're more like,
Mm,
oh, that's sad that they died, but
mm.
it's not like the same, like the whole world is in mourning of it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap up soon, Taj. But there's some messages I do feel we need to remind people
Yes,
that it's okay to grieve a person who you've never met. It's
100%.
okay to feel, ill-equipped or not ready to process everything we've went through so far this year. It's been a crazy, unpredictable year that has been difficult on so many levels, from health to finance to loss. It's been a challenge to routine. It's been a very challenging year. It's okay to feel down a bit. It's okay to cry for a person you've never met but have welcomed into your life like a celebrity. And it's okay to need help and need people. And I think it's important to remind people of that you aren't alone and you're not the only one who may be feeling some type of cloud. Stay positive, stay optimistic that you will get through it, and just continue to embrace the characters and personalities, the personality traits that we all should have, the gratitude, the helping others, the thinking positive, and all those good things. It's a challenging year, people, so stay strong. And it doesn't just affect one type of person. I've already mentioned in my prior life that I felt I've been feeling a bit off.
Hmm.
And I know others that have been feeling it. And I think it's important to share that with everyone in case you're feeling, is it just me?
Yeah,
It's not just you.
yeah, and never feel shame in that feeling in that way, because people don't know your connection with someone or something in that scenario. And as because this whole topic is about mainly celebrities and that in that way, but and people go, oh well, you don't even know him, but or her. And the truth is that if you it that people shouldn't judge that and say that, and don't let them do that to you, because
Yeah.
I'm a huge Three Stooges fan, and once I really got into them, I actually grieved them. Like,
Yeah.
I was
And you
sad
grieve them.
no longer alive, and I was like, they're never going to bring happiness again in that way. Continue, and it was a delayed
Yeah.
grievance.
Yeah. And not only that, though, Taj, their work, in your case, the Three Stooges, they represented, help or a relief when you may be going through a difficult
Yeah,
time. You can always rely on that to help. And in addition, when you lose someone of this stature like Chadwick, it does trigger some difficult moments of grief of previous losses. I do think of Kobe when I heard the news. I do think of my uncle when I heard the news. It's only um, you know, it triggers, and that's something that we have to respect and understand. And
is
then
it
and to combine that, it activates any fears we may have about death, and about the whole process. Chadwick is 43, Kobe was 41, and I'm in between them. So it's like, for me, it's like, and you are well past them. So, but it triggers, where we're at, because these are two quote unquote superheroes.
yeah, yeah, I think that, TJ, and I think that also there's a certain loss factor of we won't get to see their greatness again in a certain way, like whether it's whoever it is, like Chadwick, it's like no more movies from him. Well, there's one coming out, but that's it. Like, that's it. We'll never see him on screen doing anything else, or Robin Williams, or Lady Di, watching her perform her like various charitable acts, or just her dignity and all that stuff. So it does. It's like it's a finality. And I think that's the thing, that why people grieve, is because a finality is hard to deal with in any sense. And I know with our uncle, it's the same thing. No more music or anything like that. It's a finality. It's like, this is all we're going to get now. We feel deprived in a way,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, Taj, thanks for joining. I actually, and I've said this
Well, I have
many
no
times.
choice.
What?
You said thanks for joining.
Well,
Thank
okay,
you.
I should have said it like this. Thanks
Thank
for being there during this conversation.
Okay, yeah.
Be-
I'm
because
happy.
truthfully, I've been struggling, and just being able to
Oh,
this 25, 30 minutes of talking with you directly is what I mean to say has
yeah.
helped, and it's kind of
I'm
a
so
something I
proud of
want to tell everyone out there is if you're down, don't be afraid to find that person who you could talk it through with. And sure, it's in on DDJF Power of Love show, but I'm talking with you and having this conversation, and
you. Yeah, I
it's
shouldn't
actually
say
been
I
helpful.
have to be here. I want to be here, and I love to be here. And I love our community in general.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just watching all these comments, and it's like we're all grieving, and that's the interesting thing is that I'm hearing from different people all across the world and how they're grieving in that way. And it's very similar to stuff I'm dealing with in that way.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned Patch Adams with Robin Williams, and I haven't even seen that. I'm gonna go watch it now in that way because I know I've seen the poster of it in that way, but it's like, so there's certain things that I've been watching and stuff like that just on the comments, and it's giving me ideas to connect again. So yeah, thank you guys.
Cool. Well, before we do our wrap up, I just want to remind everyone out there too that we did set up in the last week or two a DD Jackson Facebook group. I should say this DD Jackson Foundation official Facebook group, where if you need that community, if you want to, and it's growing every day, and it's providing support and help for those who may need it, and it's exactly what we, the foundation, envisioned and wanted it to be. And I just want to remind everyone out there, if you need a community, if you need a place to ask questions or just to feel not alone, it's a wonderful place where that the foundation is set up.
Yeah, or if you've gone through something already, maybe you can give advice to people, or at least
Mm.
let them know what you went through in that way, and give them courage.
Cool. So again, it's on Facebook, DD Jackson Foundation. You can find it from the DD Jackson Foundation page, Facebook page. With that said, we are going to wrap up, Taj. Again, it's been a crazy year. Stay strong, everyone. It's okay to be feeling down. It's okay to not feel yourself, but stay strong. Take care of yourself. Be thankful. Help others. And that is it. On behalf of Taj Jackson, I am TJ Jackson, and we are signing off this Wednesday off the Power of Love show. Thank you guys, and God bless.